This is the story of How I Met Your Father.
How I Met Your Mother is finally getting its spin-off with How I Met Your Father, soon to hit Hulu with a 2-episode premiere before arriving with new episodes individually. Its weekly release schedule could pose a problem, since its characters and situations often struggle to be engaging. However, its long-term hook could very well be the thing that brings audiences back. How I Met Your Father immediately frames itself as a reflection of its predecessor. In the year 2050, a middle-aged, wine-drunk Sophie, voiced by Kim Cattrall, tells her son the story of how she met his father. It began with a Tinder date in 2022, where she's played with a spring in her step by Hilary Duff, which soon devolves into a comedy of errors, crossed wires, almost romances, and brand new friendships in the bustling Big Apple.
We are not afraid of you, New York.
We're the bravest people in this city!
However, when the pilot finally plays its hand, it reveals a narrative conceit that not only mirrors that of the original, but departs from it in an intriguing way. It's an incredibly effective linchpin, and as the story stands in the pilot episode, circumstances could both prevent or facilitate practically any romantic pairing, permanent or otherwise, during the course of the show. 3 of its 4 leading men have a fair bit going for them too. There's the chipper marine biologist Ian, the aristocratic himbo Charlie, and the puppy dog-eyed bar owner Sid. Although the 4th leading man both reads as the most likely romantic candidate on paper and also happens to be the least interesting among them, Sid's roommate Jesse. He's a disillusioned sort and thus a perfect foil to Sophie, a starry-eyed romantic. Regardless of where Sophie ends up, her dynamic with Jesse seems poised to be a central fixture of the series. Unfortunately, that's a bit of a red flag, as Jesse, Chris Lowell himself, is by no means a problem. His deep voice and casual charm make him at the very least inoffensive to watch, but in the first 2 episodes, there's little to Jesse as a person beyond how he fits into Sophie's romantic picture. Likewise, Duff brings a wide-eyed glimmer to Sophie, and Francia plays her roommate Valentina with an excitable energy, but little in the writing rounds them out as fully formed people with recognizable personalities beyond the punchlines written for them. To make matters worse, Ian's status as a potential long-distance boyfriend means he's practically absent from the show, leaving only Charlie and Sid as anything resembling fun focal points. Charlie and Sid may not be enough to keep the show afloat on their own, but in the 2nd episode, actors Tom Ainsley and Suraj Sharma share a surprisingly sweet dynamic. Their strange mix is a treat to watch, but the show has too many other lifeless interpersonal dynamics for its character-based humor to really land. While it has little connection to How I Met Your Mother beyond its narrative structure and a fun Easter egg that makes it a loose sequel of sorts, it's hard not to consider it a lesser version of the original, at least so far. In 2005, all it took was a handful of lines and interactions to learn all you needed to know about Ted, Barney, Lily, and Marshall. Whereas in How I Met Your Father, it takes a while even for the small number of standouts to emerge. Although a more pressing concern is whether it can develop anything worth watching beyond its long-term romantic question. While it's built in the visual and narrative image of How I Met Your Mother, it isn't yet comfortable breaking any of the rules the original began to discard right out of the gate.
My last date was the worst one yet.
I was on another date before this, and I just had sex.
He told you that? Why would he tell you that?
That's not even the worst part.
More amusing than funny, the 2-part How I Met Your Father premiere presents a bog-standard multi-camera sitcom that neither treads interesting stylistic ground the way its predecessor did, nor presents characters or relationships that are nearly as engaging. It does, however, feature a long-term narrative hook that could prove to be its saving grace. For more TV reviews, check out what we thought of the premieres of Naomi and Peacemaker. And for everything else, stick with IGN.